In 1348, hundreds of plague victims walked into a church that promised healing. None of them ever walked out. And what archaeologists found 700 years later still had ash in its mouth. Clapperboard, the church that burned the dead alive, and history called it a miracle. The first thing they heard was the bell. Low, hollow, endless, ringing through the mist-choked valley like a dying heartbeat. It came from the Abbey of St. Verena, perched atop a jagged cliff in the south of France, surrounded by forests older than any map. In 1348, the Black Death was everywhere. Cities were choking on the smell of rot. Families buried their children with bare hands. Priests were collapsing mid-sermon. No one was safe. Except, they said, Saint Verena. People spoke of miracles behind those stone walls. Of healing fires. Of monks who never aged. Of the sick walking in and walking out cured. Of bones that didn't decay. So they came. By cart. By foot. Crawling. Bleeding. Crying. Caravans of the desperate, lining up beneath the gates, begging to be let in. And the monks opened the doors. Smiling. But here's what the church never wrote down. There are no burial records.
No exit logs. No descendants.
Just one ancient register tucked inside the Vatican archives that lists a single word under every pilgrim's name. Purified. 700 years later, that abbey still stands. The bell is still there. And every October, just before dawn, it rings on its own.
No monks.
No ropes. No wind.
Just the sound of summoning remembering.
Something, still hungry, came by the dozens at first. Women with infants wrapped in bloodied cloth. Men whose skin had turned black beneath their ribs. Teenagers with swollen eyes and purple veins like vines crawling up their necks. Some carried crucifixes. Others carried bones, relics of the already dead, hoping they might buy mercy. The road to St. Verena twisted through a forest so ancient it had no name. Trees leaned like mourners, and the wind whispered in Latin, or so the fevered claimed. By the time they reached the stone steps of the abbey, many were too weak to knock. But they didn't have to. The doors creaked open on their own. Inside, the monks waited. Tall. Silent. Hoods drawn. Not a single face was shown. Their robes were the color of burnt parchment, and their hands were clean. Too clean. As if disease never dared touch them. The sick were welcomed without question. No prayers. No records. Just a nod. And the lighting of a tall black candle at the door. Each pilgrim passed beneath it, and as they did, the flame grew taller. Whiter. As if it recognized them. Later that night, the locals in nearby St. Roche claimed they saw firelight glowing through the abbey's stained glass windows, dancing and flickering like celebration. They assumed a mass was being held. They assumed the pilgrims had found healing. They were half right. Because what burned that night wasn't wax.
Trattino.
The chapel above was silent.
No hymns. No incense. No sermons.
Just a cold stone altar and a crucifix that never cast a shadow, no matter where the sun stood. But beneath the floor, hidden behind an iron grate veiled in rose petals and ash, there was another room. It had no name. No priest spoke of it. Not even the monks who served there acknowledged its existence in word or writing. The chamber stretched deep into the rock, carved by hands not marked in any historical record. Its walls were lined with bones, not arranged, but embedded. Skulls set like bricks. Ribs like rafters. And at its center, a pit. 6 feet wide. Bottomless. Breathing. That's what one witness would later claim in a trembling letter to the Bishop of Alls. A page torn from a Bible and written with wine and crushed berries. The stone moaned, as if hungry. And the pit, it exhaled warm wind. The monk beside me whispered, "It accepts the offering." He was found dead days later. Burn marks across his mouth. Tongue missing. Above, the monks chanted in a language no scholar has since decoded. But its rhythm matched the toll of the bell, every phrase ending with a deep hum, as if calling something upward. And one by one, the pilgrims were led below. Told to kneel. Told to pray. told to open their mouths and breathe deeply. They did, and the flame consumed them from the inside out. Not every pilgrim burned the same way. Some died screaming within seconds, eyes boiling, skin blackening like scorched paper. But others lingered, sat upright, smiling, breathing in the smoke like it was incense from heaven. The monks called them bearers. These few were chosen for something else, something deeper than death. They were taken into a second chamber, hidden even farther beneath the abbey. This room had no pit, only a circle of ash, etched perfectly into the stone, 12 feet wide, lined with symbols that didn't match any known language. Scholars would later compare the glyphs to a mix of Phoenician, early Sumerian, and something older, something never recorded by man. Here, the bearers were tested. A single monk entered, carrying a bowl of white ash. Not gray, not black, white, like powdered bone bleached by centuries. He dipped his hand in the bowl, and smeared a line across the pilgrim's chest. If the line faded, the monk would ring a bell once, and the bearer was accepted. If the line darkened or bled red, the bell rang 3 times. That meant rejection. Those rejected weren't killed. They were caged, fed nothing but water and scripture. And within a week, their tongues grew long. Their eyes forgot how to blink. Their voices began speaking in harmony. Not many voices, one. And that voice said the same thing over and over. It is waking.